And welcome back to Blue Shirts Buzz, where we talk everything New York Rangers. I'm your host, Matt Piscazzi, with my co-host, John Horton, who's currently fixing his microphone right now. Little technical difficulties. And definitely check out our Twitter at BlueBuzz26. Well, let's hop right into it today. It's been a little while since our last episode here. It is just that time of year where things kind of slow down after the holidays and everything. The new year, new things going on. But yeah, nonetheless, we are still here ready to talk Rangers hockey. Before we hop into all of that, I think he's got the mic fixed over there. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. Yeah, I was just trying to get this set up. I have a new little location here. I'm doing it in my basement, a little more room.
All right.
But of course, the furnace came on, so I'm hoping that doesn't blast through. Gonna do everything I can in post to make sure that doesn't happen, especially moving forward. Just with the winter, it comes on often, which is annoying. But yeah, so I am doing good. Besides all of that, the New York Rangers have had a slight little resurgence that kind of amounts to nothing in the grand scheme of things. Unfortunately, not to be the big
Yeah.
pessimist, but it is unfortunate. The Rangers are back to exactly 500% for their winning percentage, and they are 24th in the league. So they are 20 wins, 20 losses, and 3 overtime losses. So technically 20 and 23, 43 games in. We are halfway through the season now officially, and they are 7th in the Metro, which
Big
really,
stuff.
really makes my eyes hurt looking at. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But hey, we're still above the Islanders, so it's always a good day in that regard. But yeah, so there's a lot to talk about. Little resurgence here, but can't be distracted, and not us, but hopefully Chris Drury in the front office cannot be distracted by what is needed with this team.
Mm.
And I have some frustrations that I want to run by you, see how you're feeling, um, and see some interesting aspects coming along here. So, um, starting with the little resurgence here. Um,
Yeah. I
we
mean,
still have
it's a little more fun to watch at least.
Yeah, no, it is. We still have regressing veterans, which really, really sucks. And they have big contracts. And the only thing I've really seen thrown around from some Twitter pages and this and that is just like people talking back and forth on what they would do if they were in the Rangers front office position and how you would change it, how you would fix it. And, it really just circles around Kreider and Mika.
Mhm.
I love Chris Kreider, one of my favorite Rangers. But this season is definitely not a great one for him. He's clearly dealing with injury troubles. He is 33, 32, 33. He's getting older. If you are a GM and you're sitting there looking at at Chris Kreider
Mhm.
with I think 2 or 3 years left on his deal, making about $6 million a year, and you need a top six forward, and you simply look at the basic question, the answer to this question pains me because I love Chris Kreider, but if you were to sit there as a GM, you say, are there better options than Chris Kreider? The answer, unfortunately, is yes. And I don't know if they're going to be on the trade market. I don't know if they're going to be available, whatever it may be. But
Mhm.
just, I think 90%. I don't know how you feel. I think maybe you agree, but I'll let you speak your mind in a second. But
Mhm.
I think most. I personally believe like 80 to 90% of people would agree that unfortunately there are better options, and
Mhm.
it just sucks, especially with Mika. But he's a whole nother episode because of all his barriers to moving him. But I guess
Yeah,
Chris Kreider.
he's a little bit more difficult to move. Not that Kreider's incredibly easy to move, but definitely easier than Mika. I guess I can't say no to your question, right? Like there are better options, right? I think the issue then is like how are we able to acquire them? And if we were going to move Kreider, would be certainly something that like would be worrying. Like you're probably gonna have to throw a pick in there, prospect in there, retain some of the salary. Like it's not like you're just gonna get like a 1-for-1 like Kreider for an upgrade kind of thing. And then when you get to free agency, like if that is going to be the play, well then where are we sending him to make the available funds? Like it does get a little sticky. Um, with all that being said, I mean, I don't necessarily want to move Kreider. I don't want to move on from Kreider. I just think that we need to maybe get away from the top line kind of focus. Like if he's not going to be the top guy, that's fine. Throw him on the third line like we've had him play. Like it's not like we've had him consistently playing like first line minutes as long as we've had him here. Like particularly this year, I should say, not as long as we've had him here. But and he was hurt for a little while. I think that honestly that back injury that put him out here recently like was obviously affecting him earlier in the year before he was thrown on IR. I think it was like almost like that Truba thing where ankle hurts, wrist hurts, but playing through it, and then he goes on IR and you find out that he's been playing through it for way longer than he should. And so I think it's been a lot of unfortunate energy around Kreids, but I do think that just with his status here as a homegrown talent, the years that he has given this franchise, everything he means to this franchise, I would still love to retain him and then just keep him as a guy that can be a mid-6. That he can perform when he is healthy and playing up to par. I think that a lot of players, Kreids being one of them on this team, have not played up to par this year, and so I don't want to be overly harsh on individuals in particular in that regard and say like, he's only at 15 points in 35 games here with a -9. We got to get him out of here. It's like, well, he's kind of in the mix of a lot of our players who aren't playing well. And so I feel like you have to take some of those stats and some of everything that's going on and put in a little bit of vacuum and look at it kind of as a whole conglomerate of things that are going wrong as opposed to, one player in particular. And so I think that's why I'm a little bit more willing to stay and hold on to Kreids and have him be maybe more of a role player as opposed to being that top 6 guy, especially like the way that our power play has been playing this year. It's really that's a big presence he's had over the past few years, especially that one year. I mean, he had 26 power play goals, whatever it was, led the league. He's always been a big presence there, and we haven't seen that as much this year as well. So maybe we move, power play pieces around and don't even have him on the top power play anymore. So stuff like that, like making moves in that direction. I think I would much rather. I would be in favor of those kinds of decisions as opposed to just trying to ship him out of here. Because, like I said, I think it'd be a little more difficult to get the proper return. I don't know that teams are going to find the value in him right now that we might be giving him just because of how much he means to us. And also like recency bias. It's like, what have you done for me lately? Well, this year he hasn't really done a ton. So his value is significantly lower than it would have been in previous years as well. So I think it would be unfortunate if we were to sell super low on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, he's a core leadership piece, even though I know we say it all the time. I'm sure the people like he does have a tendency of the being deflated and whatnot, but like he's put the team on his back on times, which is why his back's injured right now. He's been such a staple of this organization. And I understand how cutthroat the business can be because it is entertainment, it's sports. We need results, we need the playoff wins, we need the cup win. So I understand at the end of the day, if the trigger is pulled for something like that, we went through it with Ryan McDonough, Matt Zuccarello, all these other trades that honestly, I actually, because we were younger when that happened. I think I told you, but I don't know, like when all those trades happened and the team like announced the rebuild, which to this day you can look back and wasn't like a full rebuild because we won like some games and then they like expedited it. And that's part of the conversation I want to get into the ladder on this with the problem with developing players. But like I didn't really watch a lot of Rangers hockey for like a 2-year span because I was just so dejected with the front office and like moving players that they really didn't need to. I mean, look at Ryan McDonough, for example. He's still at his age playing incredible hockey for what you get from him. He won 2 cups with the Lightning, which I know is more of just like the system, but like he contributed to that. Matt Zuccarello, I mean, I understand a lot of his production wouldn't be what it was if he wasn't playing with Krill, but still, he's an amazing hockey player, great leader. I just think the trigger was pulled.
He supplies Kaprizov as well, though. Like he's still dishing it out. I mean, he's still whipping it around.
100%. He's probably going to retire after this year, from what I've heard, in his age, which sucks. But like, Jeff Gordon was a horrible GM. I'll say that to the day I die. He really hurt this. And Chris Drury has shown more of a pragmatist and someone who can kind of get good deals done. But in terms of drafting, we still have to see how that turns out. Not a lot of his draft picks haven't really played as much yet to really kind of, put it out there. But, yeah, no, like you said, and I'm sure Chris Drury knows this. We're not going to get like an immediate upgrade for Chris Kreider. We're not going to get anything sustainable. So it doesn't really make sense to trade him. I think let him rest, let him heal up. This season's a wash as it is. I mean, he has 15 points, 45 games. Mika has 27 points, 45 games. Like that just sucks from 2 top 6 players. Like that sucks. Like there's no other way to cut it than it sucks. And that's not what they've done the last 2 years. And Chris Kreider's never been a big points guy. He's been a goal scorer. and you see that it's fallen off with some injury concerns. And
Yeah.
also, he's a power forward. A lot of people forget position skills in hockey. Like I understand the last 5 years or so, hockey's become so much faster and so much more skilled that people kind of forget about like some of these older players like Kreider when they came in, like they played specific type of offensive roles. Like Kreider is
Mhm.
listed as a power forward because that's what he is. Like he stands in front of the net, he blocks, he does tip-ins, he charges
Mhm.
with his speed. Like he's not a Kirill Kaprizov like we just mentioned. He's not a Leon Draisaitl. He's not skating past four people and putting it in by himself. That's just not who he is. He's
Yeah.
never been like that. So when he has players around him that aren't, you know, helping him out in that sense, then he's not producing. And I understand some people might
True.
say, "Oh, then what's the point of having him?" This and that. Like, well, that's why it's a team, right? It's a
Well, if you
team
look at
for a reason.
also, like you were saying with Kreids and Mika as well, that connection's always been kind of a points machine. The two of them have been on like had that wavelength, that chemistry. They're best friends off the ice as well, and so that hasn't been there this year. It really hasn't. I mean, how many times this year as well did we see them get moved? Like we saw the moves lines get moved around to the point where they're not even on the same lines anymore. And I know for a long time we were like in previous years clamoring, especially last year, like break that lineup. It's not really doing too much because there were periods where they were inconsistent and not, always showing up at 5v5. That was a whole another issue for last year and everything. Different kind of situation. Obviously, with all things considered, and we ended up winning the President's Trophy. So at the end, it didn't really matter that much anyway. But this year, I think that's a big reason that we're not seeing the point production from them as well, because that connection just simply hasn't been there. And the power play too is something that we're so used to Mika performing from, his spot over on the side with the slappers, with the one-timers, with the slap passes to Kreids, all the, the no-look passes from Panarin and Foxy. And Kreids is always right there in the middle, with the deflections from Panarin, from Fox, from Mika, making those plays and the shorthanded plays as well. And we're just not seeing as much of that this year, which is that special team production points that we've seen from that connection from Mika and Kreids is something that really has been missing. But like I was saying before, there's been a lot missing from this team, and I like what you were saying there as well. Like kind of you have to look at everything, not everything, but a number of things that are going on in this organization. It's not necessarily one player or one line, things like that. Um, but maybe before we roll into the rest of the episode here, we get a wonderful word from our sponsor, DraftKings.
Absolutely. Pulling up into some DraftKings, a little more football oriented with,
Well, I was just going to say it's a good time for
going
DraftKings
forward.
football playoffs and everything. Big weekend coming up.
Yeah, and all the crazy upsets and Sam Darnold looking like the old Jets QB that he was.
Seeing ghosts.
Yeah. DraftKings playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's by picking up your phone, downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app, and using the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Please and thank you.
Sweet. And yeah, thank you to DraftKings. And I know we're a hockey podcast here, but I do just I'm just curious. I want to get your predictions on the NFL playoffs here. I'll lay out just real quick. We have Chiefs, Texans, Bills, Ravens, Lions, Commanders, Eagles, Rams, all coming up this weekend. We are recording on the 16th here, which we'll get into later. First time score and everything. Rangers are playing Utah tonight. But for me, I got Chiefs destroying the Texans in that game. Quite frankly, the Texans would not have been the same this year. I don't even see how Stroud is going to try and even pull that one off especially against the Chiefs D. They've been insane. The Bills Ravens, I think that's literally this is going to be the best. Like this is like what Lions Vikings was to the regular season to the postseason. This could seriously be a Super Bowl matchup if they were in different divisions. Unfortunately, I think the Ravens are going to pull this one out, but I really want to see Josh Allen just go beast mode and just win this game. But I do think the Ravens are just built so big and so physical. Lions, I do think are end up going to get the win on the Commanders. The Commanders are a fun story, but at this point, it's just bonus football for them. I think they're still a year or two away from being a serious contender, but Jaden Daniels does look great. And then Eagles Rams. I mean, I got the Eagles in that one. I think the Rams are a fun story at this point, but like record speaks for itself. The injuries and everything this year, they had such I just don't see them being able to pull it off against the Eagles. The Eagles offensive line and Saquon, the way they're firing right now, great defense. Like they're seriously, for me, I think the Eagles are going to end up winning that game, beating the Lions, going to the Super Bowl, and I think that the Ravens are going to finally come out of the AFC this year and go to the Super Bowl. So without all that being said, I do think that we're going to have a Ravens-Eagles Super Bowl.
I hope there's no Eagles in the Super Bowl. Get them far, far away.
I know
from
I hate the Eagles,
it.
but I think they're going to be there.
Yeah, I think definitely Chiefs, just because their defense is just way too good, and Stroud's been struggling against some high end defense lately with the weapons he has.
100%.
Yeah, Ravens, Buffalo. I mean, they don't have Zay Flowers, right? He's still injured, but see, the problem is Josh Allen has gotten better the last few years, but like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson both have a history of choking in the playoffs. They just do, and I don't know why. Even though they'll like pull off, they'll pull off like 3/4 of perfection and then just like crap themselves in the fourth quarter. I don't know why, but that's tough. I want Bills to win too, but man, I'm gonna go with Bills because you went with Ravens. I'm gonna do a little opposite.
All right.
But that's definitely gonna be a Super Bowl contention game. And it was Commanders and Lions.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I definitely think the Lions are gonna win, but what's their coach? Dan Campbell. He's a good coach, but I remember
Dan Quinn. Dan Campbell's no, Lions is Dan Campbell. Dan Quinn is the Commanders.
Is the Commanders. He's a good coach. I think they'll win, but I remember last year, and I know this is like tooting my own horn and like makes it seem like I'm some guru, but I forgot who they were playing last year, and it was like a 4th down situation, and they were gonna punt it, and then they did something on a 4th down that I was like, what are you doing? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And it was like Dan Campbell tried to make it like, oh, this is going to be an aggressive play, this, and that. And it literally tilted the game against them and they lost. And then people were like, why did he like that one play cost them the whole game?
Well, I can't put stuck to his guns. Yeah, I know. I remember what you're talking about because they always go for it on 4th. But it was one of those situations where you're like, oh, like maybe don't do it this time. But he's just
it made no sense.
To that game plan where like they kept, which you do have to give them credit for, like, and it's worked out for them. To their credit, the way their offense has been playing this year. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
My point with that, I remember watching that with my girlfriend or family, and I was like, I am not an NFL coach, and this is the dumbest decision I've seen. And and again, it makes me sound like egotistical and like to my own horn, but they lost after that happened, and I was like, that was dumb. I think because Jaden Daniels has some magic power sometimes, like pulling out stuff out of like in the end. So I think as long as Dan Campbell doesn't do that, I think they'll easily win. But if he's doing stupid, aggressive things and like testing the waters, I think Jaden Daniels might be able to pull out some surprising stuff. I still think the Lions will just win, but like if he does some dumb crap like that, I think it's really gonna.
I think it could be really competitive. As I think it's going to be a shootout for sure. But yeah,
100%.
To your point, it does seem like the Lions are still going to pull that one out.
And then Eagles, Rams. Yeah, I would like the Rams to win, but too injured. I have to go with the Eagles. I know I'm a salty Giants fan, but I cannot stand Saquon Barkley. I cannot stand this nice guy persona, like pat me on the back, dude. Like I'm sure you saw the last playoff game where he had a clear touchdown and he like slid and he's like, oh, I'm not gonna go for the touchdown, this and that. Like you were in the playoffs. You were in the goddamn playoffs.
It's like a time management thing.
Yeah, but don't give me that like nice guy, like, I'm not gonna do that, like slide. Like he does that all the time. Like when he was fighting with the Giants and like getting released from them and this and that, like he would fight with people on Twitter that would like call him a clown or like a loser or whatever. Like that's how sensitive he is as a grown ass, muscular, like record-setting NFL running back man. And I cannot stand that. I cannot stand that. And also you have the chance to get the single season rushing record and you don't want to break it. You're a loser. You are a loser if you don't want to break it.
That was a team decision too, though.
I think. But if I was him,
I thought they should have played him. I would have wanted to play, right? But I get it because they're going to the playoffs. Like you got to have playoff in mind.
Yeah,
but
like
that one's a tough spot. But
and the only reason I have this hate is because he went to a division rival. Again, as a human being, I can't blame him. Right? Am I a salty Giants fan for that? Yes. Is it his fault that he left the Giants? No. But stop with this nice guy persona nonsense. Stop. You are a professional athlete. You're in the playoffs. Go for the touchdown. You blew past them. You proved your skill and physicality was more and brains were better. Go for the touchdown. Don't give me this slide like, all right, time management. Like, I don't want to do that to him. Like, stop that. I hate that. You're not fooling anybody. Like, I hate that. I hate that crap. That's just me. It's like a big pet peeve of mine. I hate that. Like, you're here for sports. Go out and kill somebody. Don't actually kill someone. But like, you know what I mean?
That winning mentality, that attitude. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from on that. Yeah.
And I
Well,
know
so then,
mainly it's salty giant stuff, but like,
yeah, I was gonna say with that, who do you think they're gonna be able to pull it off against the Lions and go to the Super Bowl? Or you still got the Lions going to the Super Bowl?
I think the Lions defense is gonna make Jalen Hurts choke. So I'm gonna go Lions.
Okay.
Super
And
Bowl.
then Chiefs Bills, another Chiefs Bills matchup in the AFC. Then who you got?
I gotta go with the Chiefs, man. The Bills cannot beat the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs
That's
defense, like as good as Patrick Mahomes is and this and that, there's been cracks with him over the last 2 years as an offensive
yeah.
quarterback. It is the defense, right? They were gonna let Chris Jones like almost not sign him. I was like, you guys are dumb. Like if you didn't have him on your D line,
Yeah,
you
dude,
would
he's a
not be going
cornerstone
anywhere.
of that defense, man. He's so good.
Cornerstone.
He's
Their
so good.
defense and their coaching is incredible. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but I had a coworker like lay it out too. Like
Mm,
he really is a product of like a big system that he's in. Like again,
true.
great quarterback,
It's
but
like even
like
this year he hasn't. If you, this year in particular, like hasn't been as
yes,
good as his previous years, especially when you look at like QBR, touchdowns, to interceptions, yardage,
yes,
everything like that. And but look at where they are. Look at how well they played. I mean,
yes.
also
It's the
they
defense.
are the way that Andy Reid coaches that team too is they are all. You ever notice how they're always in a position to win the game in a one score game? They
Exactly.
always have the ball
Always.
in the last 4 minutes, last two
Always.
minutes, last five.
And it's the
Last drive.
defense.
There's like 10 minutes left in the fourth. They go on an 8-minute drive.
Yep.
Rush it down, whatever. Like they always put themselves in a position to have the ball last and or be in a very good position to make the final play, make the final stand on defense and the other team's end, like stuff like that.
Yep.
And that drives me crazy how well they position themselves. But yeah, the defense is unreal too. Now I like that. So
Unreal.
interesting that you got Chiefs Lions, and I'm thinking Eagles Ravens. We got totally different
Ooh, I
predictions
like
here.
that.
Obviously, when we get closer to the Super Bowl, though, I think we'll do Super Bowl predictions on here. But
Yeah.
I know I
Also
felt a
just
little
because
funny doing
the
an NFL
Rangers
spot.
suck.
Well, that's too. I think, and that was going to get me here into the segue. Just our last little topic here, and it's nothing new. It's kind of the same. I don't want to say the same stuff, different day. But with the Rangers right now, it really is kind of same stuff, different day. It is just very much like, can we just get through the rest of this year and look towards the future kind of thing? I will say that it's a lot more fun to watch them recently, which is nice as a fan. Like I do want to be able to sit down and actually enjoy the game, like seeing them get the win over the Devils. The way they played that Avs game, like really could have won that game too. Blackwood kind of stole that game. He was 2 goals saved above expected, was just unreal. Went over the Knights as well. So it's certainly more fun to watch. But when you look at the team and the way they played previously, and like you said, where they are, still 7th in the Metro, still bottom of the league here in terms of points and everything, and just with how good the East is right now, I mean it's bleak. Like even with this turnaround, we are still at 43 points, 5 points away from the Blue Jackets sitting in a wild card spot right there, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in between us and them. So with all of those things going on. And the defense has still been inconsistent. Igor's been playing a lot better, but it's still like, where's that Vezina type performance that we're looking for on a consistent basis, right? Things like that. So I say all this, to kind of pose this question to you: does this turnaround really mean anything to you? Does this is this? I guess I'll frame it this way: is this just something fun and gives us something a little bit to kind of look forward to watch and maybe be a little bit excited about, a little bit of a playoff race, or does it not mean much and this is just kind of promising to see some of the guys finally turn it around and play a little bit of hockey, but at the end of the day, the plan needs to stay the same in the offseason, retool, all that kind of stuff? Like, where's your head at right now with the way that we're playing, given the way we started the year?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's just so tough because, yeah, like you said, in the Eastern Conference, the Rangers are 14th of 16th.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for the younger players to get reps. It's good for the leadership, whatever leadership's going to maintain in this locker
Mhm.
room. I think. See, what's so tough is we don't know what Chris Drury's going to do. If
Yeah.
he's going to completely blow it up, or if he's going to only move a few pieces. So, like, if he completely blows it up, then it doesn't matter at all because all the bonding and the camaraderie is going to be for nothing because there's going to
True.
be all new people in the room. But if he only retools a little bit, then it is good for like some of the younger players to kind of push themselves for captaincy. I
Mhm.
really want Adam Fox to step up his leadership. I don't know if he's going to be that guy. Maybe he doesn't want to be. Um, he hasn't shown it, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
somebody in that room has to push for leadership. And I know it's kind of hard right now when you still have Mika and Kreider. I don't know why Panarin's an alternate captain. I mean, the language barrier, and I think it's just a skill. He leads by example, so I get that.
Yeah.
Trocheck makes sense. Like he's a pretty brass guy. He's been picking it up too. But I think I think everyone in that locker room knows they have a target on their back. They know whose contracts are coming up.
Mhm.
Zach Jones spoke out with his frustration, which I understand, which I wonder is also part of the reason why he's still not playing. Like, I wonder if the coaches are like, all right, like, we're happy your frustration is there, but we're also still going to scratch you because you said stuff
True,
like
and
that.
if they are going to end up moving him, it's like you keep him scratched so he doesn't get hurt, kind of thing too. Probably.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think maybe I think if he voiced his frustrations and was like, I need to play more, like, we're losing this and that, then maybe he would get more playing time. But I think since he threw in that 32-year-olds collecting a paycheck comment, I think as a coach, I'm just trying to think of it as like a coach. My thought is like,
Yeah.
all right, you're dissing your own teammates. Like, I'm not giving you playing time. Like, that's like, you want to be
True. To that
frustrated, you
point.
want to
Yeah.
prove it. Like, come to practice, have fire under your ass, like, do this and that. But like, it's so tough. Like, as a coach, I get that, and you want to just play your best players, but like, it is a team. Like, teams win championships, not just four guys that met yesterday at the trade
Yeah.
deadline. So, I think maybe that's part of it. Um, I just hope that Laviolette and whoever maybe takes his spot after next year, if he gets next year, I just hope they play the younger guys. This team needs to get younger. We need to
Mhm.
give them more minutes to those people. I don't know why Brett Berard was sent back to the AHL. That was dumb. That made no sense to me, especially like they
Yeah,
picked up
unless they're
what's his
trying to
name.
not have to burn a year off his contract, but that always confuses
Maybe,
me, like with how many years they
maybe.
play and how it burns a year. Like, I think he's still going to get a year burn anyway. Like, I don't know that it's going to give us an advantage. And not. I would have to look into that because that's the only reason I could see where I'd be like, all right, like good looks. But we've had him for a few years here, where I think we're kind of past some of that stuff anyway. So I don't
Yeah.
know that that's necessarily a
Or maybe
consideration.
it's like
Yeah.
maybe they're worried like so he came in, played a few games, had 7
Hmm.
points, like was looking really good. Maybe they're worried like what happened with Mancini early in the year, where he came in and looked awesome and then just fell off a cliff and was like playing bad defense, not putting up any type of
Uh-huh.
offensive
Yeah, like
defensive.
maybe they want
Maybe,
to spread it out and give him like he'll have a
yeah,
second. He actually that's a fair valid point. I wonder if he has a second stint towards the end of the year where we bring him back up
yeah.
and give him like towards the end of the season like another 10, 15 games or something like that.
Because maybe they're worried about that. They're like, all right, he's hot now. Let's put him back to the AHL where he's hot in the NHL. So when he goes to the AHL, he'll light it up even more, keep his
Like let him
confidence up,
keep
his skills.
developing. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, they're pulling people
Right.
off waivers left and right just to try something. That's fine.
Although I did like
Um,
the pickup of Arthur Kaliev, I thought wasn't bad. Although it's we're not
yeah,
really seeing much.
it's not
Like
really.
he hasn't even really played anyway. And
Yeah, it's
Edstrom's
low
actually
risk.
Edstrom in the fourth line and Carrick too. The bottom six have actually been pretty
Yeah,
good recently. So it's like where's the room?
it's a low risk, potentially high reward move. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, then you just say, "All right, see ya," and then he goes. But yeah, I gotta say I gotta lean towards the meaningless stuff
Uh
because
huh.
also like Igor's not playing that Vesna thing. My hope is maybe he's being a jerk, and then once his $11 million contract kicks in, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna play." That's my
Yeah.
hope. But I mean, he's 28, 29. I mean, Jesus,
Mm.
I hope. Um, a lot needs to be done. A lot needs to be done, and leads me to my
Mhm.
final point of a little frustration that I've had for a while. That's subsided with the last year or so, but starting to creep up again. I think for good reason, but um, so we all know Capo Caco's gone, thank God, just
Mhm.
because of the drama. And he's in the Kraken now. He's getting 20 plus minutes. He's, putting up points these last couple games, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's like, did we make a mistake? I would have to say no. I just don't think it was ever going to work here. I think he was too burned by the organization. I think the
Yeah.
coaching staff didn't believe in him at all. And as some people, like some reporters have said, and I've seen too, like some people just need a change of scenery. Sometimes it's just not
Mhm.
going to work. And I think even though he's putting up these points now in these last couple games, I don't think he's going to be this 60-point player guy. I think he's just going to be like the 30, 40 player guy who gets injured here and there and just gives you whatever. Because if he was really that second overall draft pick that didn't need any more development or blah, 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 whatever, he
Yeah.
would have showed it in 5 years. So, but I will say the Rangers do have a major problem with development and keeping young guys kind
Yeah.
of under the foot. And we talked about in the past, it's because it's Madison Square Garden. It's the New York Rangers. There's higher expectation to sell tickets. It's within the top three highest valued hockey franchises in the league. Not an excuse, but it's a realization that I came to just really doing more research as to why this happens. Like, you
Mhm.
know, if you're the coach of the New York Rangers, the GM's coming to you like, why aren't we winning games? James Dolan's breathing down my neck that we're not selling $20 beers as much. Why are we winning games? And then you're like,
Mhm.
well, I'm trying to develop the young guys. Well, win games, right? That's
Sure.
obviously
We've
your
we've
coach's
moved
job.
a lot of younger talent before we've seen them fully develop, or we've kind of been out on them because we're like, oh well, if we throw them over to this team with a first round pick, then we can get back these two veterans with expiring contracts, and then we can throw them in our middle six, top six,
Yes.
second pair D, whatever, and help us drive to the playoffs. And you look at that one year where Drury made those moves when he brought in Kaner, Kopp, Petrano, all those moves where you're looking at the young pieces and the draft picks going the other way, and it's
Yes.
like, did it mean anything? No.
No.
And here we are with less assets, and we didn't retain any of those guys. So
So what's the point?
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good point there. It's the nature of that kind of pressure to constantly be winning.
Yeah, and it's not an excuse. I think it's just the reality. And you need like a whole front office difference.
Mm-hmm.
So this leads me to my thing, and we'll wrap up here. Get your opinion on. And we know when it comes to development, a lot of people, I never hear people mention this. I don't know why, but like, yes, if you're a young player, 18, 20, whatever, you come into a new organization, there is a large aspect of that franchise trying to develop you. You have access to new trainers, access to new meals, chefs, workout equipment, regimens, coaching. That's all fine and dandy. That makes perfect sense. The playing time you get. But I don't know why. I never, ever, 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 except for once in a while, see people bring up the fact like, well, it's also on them, right? Like you have all this in front of you, but if you're not following the training routine, if you're not pushing yourself for extra reps at practice, if you're not on the ice practicing, like I know Sidney Crosby's an exception because he's going to be an instant Hall of Famer, but like you see in June, he's on the ice by himself practicing, right? You see Nathan McKinnon with like these crazy diets that you've never heard of. You see Connor McDavid, like he lives and breathes it. He has like this special trainer that comes in and stretches him every morning. Like there's also an aspect of on the player. If the player wants to be that next level player, if they want to put in the work to get to that point, obviously if you're not getting playing time, that's not on you.
Yeah.
To some extent, right? Because we don't know what goes on in practice. Maybe you're dragging your feet, dragging your skates, not really giving as much thought. You're not really showing yourself as a presence in the locker room. The coach is like, "Well, all right, I'm not going to play you." But there's been a lot of stuff with Kakko and Laugh comparison. This has been a pretty disappointing year for Lafreniere so far. 24 points in 42 games. He's been playing top line minutes. Granted, he hasn't been getting a lot of power play one time. His plus minus is
ticked up
pretty
recently,
bad.
but then obviously Mika started playing well, so that kind of things are getting shifted around as well anyway. Yeah.
And I will agree, Laviolette and other coaches in the past, I don't know what it is about some of these veterans, but they just have a soft spot for Mika, Kreider, all of them. Like no matter how bad they're playing, I think it's just a coach veteran thing. I think most coaches will do that, except like maybe John Cooper and like Paul Maurice or what's his name that got fired from the Bruins, Jack
Montgomery.
Montgomery. Yeah, there's only a few that will just be like, no, this is how I'm running things. Like Braden Point was a healthy scratch the other night because he missed a team meeting. Like you think Peter Laviolette's going to do that to Mika? No way.
Yeah.
And that's what you want from a coach. But also he's been there for like 8 years and he's like established.
Yeah, it's like an established culture. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem with the Rangers. We've had 17 coaches in the last 10 years. So, long-winded here, but like, I'm glad that Lafreniere signed. Like, I'm happy he's here, but my past frustrations that I've said to you on air and off air of him just not showing that first overall pick potential, that what we saw him do in the minor leagues, or not the minor leagues, in the youth leagues, and like how he was touted and this and that.
Yeah, and like the juniors and everything. Yeah.
And juniors, and everybody brings up the softball thing. I get that. Like that's funny. Like obvious, I'm sure Sidney Crosby plays softball too, or some other stuff. But the difference is you don't see him on the ice like the other people. You don't see him putting in this extra effort. His skating has kind of maintained the same. It's not as fast or explosive as I think it should be. His puck handling skills are fine. His driving to the net and his confidence is waning this season. I know the whole team is crumbling, but like this is an opportunity for a young guy who just got locked up to a long deal to be like, this is why I'm here. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to prove. And I have come to the conclusion in my personal sense, and you might disagree with me, but I think he's a lazy player. I just think he's a lazy athlete. I don't think he puts in the effort he can. I think he has little bursts here and there, gets a pat in the head, and he's like, all right, cool, and I'm done. And it frustrates me. It pisses me off, actually. And for years I've been kind of out on him. And then last year he silenced
Yeah.
me a little bit. And then the beginning of this year, I was like, all right, we're looking good. And now he's back to what? Being a ghost, going 5 games, no points, then having a 2-goal game and an assist here. Panarin's still putting up points. You're playing on the same line as him. So, like, why aren't you getting the power play one time? What aren't you doing in practice? Again, could just be Peter Laviolette preventing that from happening.
Mm.
But that's the long-winded way to finish that. I just think he's a lazy player, and I want him to change that, and I hope he will grow up.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I don't think it has to do with effort at this point. I think prior to this year or even last year, you can make a case that it didn't seem like he was the hardest of worker. Like it was very easy to meme him, the softball thing, all that stuff. But I do have to make one point is that do you okay, name random middle six player on the Blackhawks. Do we see videos of them online training off the ice? No. Are they training off the ice? I'm sure. Name young guy on the Sharks who's, coming up and was like a top 10 pick. Are we seeing him training off the ice in the season in the summer? No. It's just we're not seeing videos of that guy. And I don't think it means that it's not happening. They're not Sidney Crosby. We're not going to get videos of them online doing those things. You know what I mean? Like
That's
the
right.
league is going to want to take videos of Nathan McKinnon repping 500-pound squats. They're going to want to take videos of McDavid doing suicide sprints up and down the ice. They're going to want those videos because it's good press, it's good players. People want to see that. People don't want to see, a 22-year-old first overall pick who hasn't really performed up to par, getting skating lessons in the summer. Like we might see that as like fans of the team that might be covered by people who are covering the team, and you might see that off to the side a little bit. But also like if you think about 90% of players in this league, you are not seeing what they're doing off the ice, but they're obviously doing things off the ice to better themselves. So I don't think in that regard that it has as much to do with effort. I don't want to say that he's lazy, especially given how he played like last year, the way he skated, especially towards the end of the year and in the playoffs and the beginning of this year. He's been like a man on a mission. I really am a proponent this year of this being just a cloud around this team of just everything and everyone. I think it's unfortunate that we thought, given how he played last year, that this year would finally be the year for him to kind of get into that full gear. But I think that this team has held him back in that regard. Panarin was hurt for a little bit, which definitely hurt his chances at kind of continuing to play really well. But again, in the beginning of the year, he did play really well and he was skating around. He was a man on a mission. We saw that taper off a little bit, but it was also at a point where nobody on this team was performing. And so for me, I don't think it has as much to do with his effort and his drive and motivation. I do think that, especially in the last couple of years, he's been putting in that work in the offseason. We've been seeing it like it's tangible. You can see how much better he's skating, how much more confidence he's had. So I think that he's doing things off the ice, and I think they are paying off. I think that just unfortunately, given like I said, everything that's going on around this team, the negativity, Panarin being hurt for a little while, Trocheck not playing up to par as well, then the minutes he's getting on power play one is a time when power play one hasn't scored a goal in how many games and in how many minutes. So I'm much more of a proponent of everything else that's going on is kind of creating this whole entire situation. And with all that being said, he is still on pace to score more, 40 plus points this year, which is not obviously you want to see him be putting up more points, especially as a first overall pick. Like it's like, when's he going to take off? But all of that, I do mean to get to the point that I think I'm not out on him yet. Like I think there's still more there. I think the potential is still there. I think we could certainly still see him, especially towards the end of the year here, get more minutes, keep progressing. And that's something that in the midst of all this, we still need to see guys like him get those minutes so that we at least have something to look forward to in the future. And so that's got to be a big kind of tilt in this organization as we start retooling, like you were saying before, making sure we're playing the right guys in the right situations, particularly our guys that we want to develop. Because if we're not going to see Mika Kreids, insert veteran player who's 30 plus here next year, then we need to kind of get a little bit away from giving them all those types of minutes and give those minutes, kind of spread the wealth out a little bit. Like we've seen Cooley get a lot more minutes this year, Laugh get a lot more minutes, especially towards the beginning of the year on the power play, things like that. And so those are things like positive signs we can at least look forward to in the future and say like, yeah, Mika might not be here, Kreids might not be here, this guy might not be here, that guy might not be here, but at least this, young player who has the potential that we haven't seen yet is getting the minutes and getting the opportunity to continue developing to hopefully hit that ceiling at some point. So with all that being said, I don't, like I said, I don't think it's as much of an effort thing. I think it has more to do with just everything else I kind of laid out there, the multifaceted kind of thing here. But it's still a very interesting point, something that we definitely have to keep our eyes on and watch. I like where we have him on the contract right now, but it's like, is that going to bite us if we don't ever really see him kind of start to pick it up, everything like that? Like, we'll kind of see how that ends up.
Yeah,
With
well
that,
said. Well said.
yeah, I'm just not out on him yet. I'm just not out on him yet.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not fully out on him. It's frustrating. It's
And
very
no,
upsetting.
it definitely is. I think I'm just maybe less frustrated too is a way to put it.
Yeah.
And like even what I am frustrated about though with the Kako thing is like, can we just move on? Like our fan
Yeah.
base at some point is at some points is so insufferable. Like every time I go on Reddit, every other minute, on literally Rangers Reddit, one of the mods had to go and comment and say like, all right, every time we see these Kako posts, we're just going to take him down now because every day, every 10 minutes, it was Kako scored a point last night. What's going on? Why is he performing? Why didn't he do this for us? Oh my God, I hate you so much. Stop it. Why are you being so good right now? And it's like,
Yep.
can we relax? He's got 9 points in 12 games on a team where, like you said, he's getting more minutes. It's a different play style, different. He needed a change of scenery. It worked out for him, and who knows if it's going to continue to work out for him. He's played there for 12 games. Can we like take a breath here and relax and see what happens towards the end of the year, next year, things like that? Like whatever.
Yep.
I just
The
that's
problem is the beat
frustrating.
writers. The beat writers put those articles out, and then the fans foam at it, and they're like, "Oh my
eat it
god!
up.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!" No, you're right. You're right. I think Laugh needs full power play one time, a full season of it. You know, when the team gets revamped next year, hopefully, Chris Drury, please listen to us and everybody else. And then we'll see. But yeah, I'm just tired of the disappointment. Please,
certainly. But I think a nice way to roll us out of this one here. Unless you had any last minute thoughts before we do first time score stuff.
No, that sounds good.
As I say, I think we got a good one here. I mean, it's been a lot of the same kind of stuff here with the Rangers recently, and at least it's a little bit more fun to watch, which will get us to here. So we did do first time score. We had a 3-2 overtime win over the Devils. You had Panarin scoring first. I had Cooley scoring first. Fox scored first in that game. It was the one game you didn't say it was going to be Fox.
I know.
So neither of us got that one. 2-1 win over Vegas. Trocheck was the first scorer for us. You had Smith. I had Panarin. Neither of us hit that one. And in the Avalanche game, where'd it go? I literally just had it.
Oh, it was all like the bottom four.
Yeah, it was weird.
Bottom
That's
six
why I
guys.
was like, just wasn't expecting it. The 3-2 loss, overtime loss to the Avs. Again, a game that we could have won. But yeah, it was the shorty from Sarah McCarrick, who's actually been playing really well. And neither of us had that on the bingo card. You had Laugh and I had Schneider. So we are still tied 2-2. Just goes to show how difficult this is, but it's fun nonetheless, and which will get us into the games that we have coming up here. So we are recording this on the 16th. We're playing Utah Hockey Club tonight. Who you got scoring first?
Utah better be the Utah Yetis. I really hope they go.
I love that one. I love the Yeti.
I'm gonna go with Panarin.
Dude, is it crazy? I was gonna start typing that out for you. I had a feeling. Mika. He's been playing really well actually. For some reason, he finally decided to like pull his head out of his ass. Then we have the Blue Jackets on Saturday. Who you got?
Adam Fox. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Adam Fox again.
You're like, yeah, he scored the other night. He's gonna start picking it up now. Okay.
Yeah.
The Foxy spot. All right. I'm calling Laugh on this one. I'm not out on him yet. He's gonna start picking it up here at some point. So we got the Blue Jackets on Saturday. Then we play the Canadians on Sunday.
This is tough. Filipino.
Phil, okay. All right. I like it. I'm taking Kreids on this one. He came back, wasn't overly convinced by his performance, but he tends to play well against the Canadians, especially when he runs over their goalies. So going for Kreids on that one.
He was tripped.
I don't know. And I think I'll throw the Sens one in here too. They play Tuesday, and then if they play the Flyers Thursday, I feel like at some point we'll get an episode in that range, middle of the week here. So I don't know that we have to predict the Flyers one, but I feel like the Sens, worst comes to worst, we could just roll it into the next episode. So, and they've been playing well. That's a tough one.
I'm gonna go with Mika.
All right.
No, I don't think it's gonna happen. I just gotta go. I gotta go for a wild one here.
I'm just gonna score against his old alma mater. Not a school, not an alma mater, but that was a terrible. I don't know why that was like the analogy I decided to make in that moment. I got Panarin in that one. Panarin Bear. But yeah, I think with that, I'll throw a last little spot in here. With all this being said, everything we have to talk about, I will say at least it's more fun to watch this team. It's certainly a little bit easier on the eyes. I'm certainly not going to complain about that. And I've been pretty clear. Like, I never really necessarily wanted like tankathon. I hate that. Like, it's always so hard being like tank, tank, tank. Like, you don't, even if your team's losing, it's like you still want to see them perform and be competitive and try. And so that's been promising. It's been a little bit more fun to watch. So I'm certainly looking forward to this span of games where like Utah, not the most convincing hockey team. The Blue Jackets have actually been playing pretty well, especially Zach Werenski's like on a tear. So I don't think that's super easy, but and the Canadians too, like we've been a little surprising this year. And this even the Sens, like they're all kind of these teams we're playing here, and then the Flyers as well are right in the mix with us in the East. So if we are going to be fun and make a little bit of a playoff push, those are 3 or 4 teams that we are really going to want to get some wins and get some points against and kind of make it a little bit exciting. I mean, if we can get some good results against the Blue Jackets, the Canadians, Sens, Flyers there, that's a spot that could put us right back in the wild card conversation. Does it mean much? Are we even going to get that spot if we make it? If we do end up getting that spot, are we going to do anything with the playoffs? You never know. It's one of those like football. It's having any given Sunday. Like if we make the playoffs, anything could happen. So at the very least, like you want to see this team try and pick it up, give us things to look forward to in the future. So I don't want to be like all doom and gloom. Oh, I hope they lose the rest of the year. Give us the first round pick. Like if you're going to turn it around, then make it count. Like that's I think my last little comment here. If we're going to turn it around, if we're going to be a team that wants to win and make things happen, make it count. That's really what I want to see. Be consistent, get the wins, get us in a position where we can make the playoffs, and it can mean something to this organization. But yeah, that's I think the last you'll hear me on this one, guys. After my very long-winded final comments here, I will shoot over John to close out this one.
Very well said by Matt. I won't reiterate all the beautiful things he said because it's true, other than the thing that I said I'm going to end every episode with, as long as I remember. No half measures. Team needs to be fixed. No Band-Aids. No half measures. Yeah. So, yep, that's an episode. Thanks for listening again. As always, tune in every single week. Appreciate the love and support. Tell your friends, family, loved one about the show. Check us out on our socials, and we will catch you on the next one.